already late. So I'll start with 2 videos. This one is 8 minutes and the other one is 2 minutes. I hope you'll be able to hear the sound. Please tell me siposikia sound. Mnasikia sound? Z, okay. Inafanywangu aje?
Unashare ukishare and then so
Nimepata sawa. Niweke speed normal ama 1.25?
charge lapi kwanza Diane.
No, wait. Niweke normal speed or 1.25?
Any can work. Yenye roho yako
Okay,
inakwambia.
let's start with normal, then if it's too slow, you can tell me, then I'll increase the speed. Hi.
Rheology. When you hear that term, what words come to mind? Viscosity? Viscosity buildup with time? Or breakdown with shear? Or viscosity changes with temperature? Or perhaps all of the above? The fact is, rheology plays an essential role when formulating everything from cosmetics to food to inks and coatings. It impacts all stages of material use across multiple industries, including production, pumping, storage, transportation, stability, end-use application, spreading, and even product performance. I'm always surprised how many formulators know very little about rheology and the various forms it takes. Therefore, I'll review rheology in a 5-part video series covering the following subjects. First, in this segment, Part 1, it would be helpful to define rheology. Next, we will review the essential elements that affect how materials flow and deform. We'll discuss the differences amongst materials and their real. Rheology. All stages of material use across multiple industries, including production, pumping, storage, transportation, stability, end-use application, spreading, and even product performance. I'm always surprised how many formulators know very little about rheology and the various forms it takes. Therefore, I'll review rheology in a 5-part video series covering the following subjects. First, in this segment, Part 1, it would be helpful to define rheology. Next, we will review the essential elements that affect how materials flow and deform. We'll discuss the differences amongst materials and their rheological behavior. Then we'll wrap up our first part with a clearer understanding of viscosity. In Part 2 of our series, we will review the various deformation forces that can impact a material's viscosity. And in Part 3, we'll examine various rheological flow profiles to help us understand how that knowledge can benefit a formulating chemist. In Part 4, we'll focus on the chemistry, mechanism, and application of different aspect in rheology. Viscosity is a measure of a fluid's resistance to gradual deformation or flow by shear stresses. It describes the internal friction of a moving fluid and therefore its thickness. So, a fluid with a large viscosity, like honey, resists motion because its molecular makeup and morphology results in a lot of internal friction between neighboring particles that are moving at different velocities. But a fluid with low viscosity, like water, flows easily because its molecular makeup and morphology results in very little internal friction when it's in motion. So basically, a liquid's viscosity depends on its chemical structure, its morphology, and the attractive forces between them. Now that we have some understanding of how viscosity relates to internal friction, how is it affected by deformation forces? We'll cover that in our next periodic news publication, Rheology Part 2. In the interim, you may want to check out the benefits provided.
So I just wanted us to understand what viscosity is. You know, it's not good to assume that people know what viscosity is. So anyone who can tell us what viscosity is in simple terms, like, let me see, Corazon, please. Okay, Faith. Hiral. Kwani amniski?
Tunakusikia, ni venye jibu ndo hatujui.
What's the question, Diana?
In simple terms, what is viscosity? Because you know, with rheology, we'll be talking about viscosity a lot.
Tunaweza sema resistance of flow.
Yeah, resistance to flow.
Wewe si ujibu yako, sema yako, mbona unasema yangu?
Hey.
Exactly. And please be, you know, interactive with me, because pharmaceutics is like that. We have to be interactive. So next video is on this, but we'll only see about Newtonian fluids, and then we'll go to the notes, then come back. So
Types of fluids. Generally, there are two types of fluids, Newtonian fluid and non-Newtonian fluids. The only difference between them is Newtonian follow the Newton law of viscosity and non-Newtonian do
think let me reduce the speed because he's rapping. Yeah.
not follow the Newton law of viscosity. Newtonian fluids. In this, fluid do not change its viscosity no matter how much force is applied. The examples are honey, water, oil, glycerin. Take water in a container and try to splash or punch into some kind of force. You will observe that viscosity of the fluid do not changes. Viscosity. It is the resistance of the fluid. Non-Newtonian fluid. It is class.
Okay. So we'll start with this. I'll be using I don't know if it's Professor or Dr. Munyendo's notes. So we'll start by definitions. So rheology is simply the study of flow and deformation properties of matter. And as we've seen, viscosity is resistance to flow. So viscosity is what we majorly talk about here in rheology. So you wonder, what is rheology for? Why am I studying rheology as a pharmacist? Rheology will help you if you go to work in the industry, you know. It is used as a means of characterizing and classifying fluids and semi-solids in consideration to viscosity, which is resistance to flow. So a proper understanding of these properties of the materials that you'll be using in the industry is essential to the preparation, development, evaluation, performance of the dosage forms that you'll be manufacturing there. So we go straight to Newtonian systems. It'll be very brief. Basically, from what you've seen in the short video, Newtonian fluids are the ones which follow the law, the Newtonian law. So Newton elaborated viscosity on a quantitative basis, and he said the rate of flow was directly related to the applied stress. So the rate of flow is directly related to the applied stress, in which case the constant of proportionality is the coefficient of dynamic viscosity, which is simply just viscosity. So Newtonian fluids, they're the ones who obey the relationship, which is applied stress. This is applied stress is equals to the proportionality of viscosity to the rate of flow. Am I clear? Very.
Yes.
It's good. So, so this is just a simple explanation of what dynamic viscosity is. So basically what this paragraph is saying is, you see when you have a pack of cards and like you throw them on the table, like you dash them on the table, the first card itaenda to go like that, and then the last one won't like move so much like the first ones. So when a force is applied to the uppermost layer, it is assumed that each layer will move at a progressively decreasing velocity and that the bottom layer will be stationary. That is what this paragraph is basically saying. So it goes on to say, a velocity gradient therefore exists, which is equal to the velocity of the upper layer in meters per second divided by the height of the cube in meters. So the resultant gradient, which is effectively the rate of flow, but usually referred to as the rate of shear, will have units of reciprocal seconds. So bado usijisumbue if you've not understood, we are continuing. So the applied stress, also known as the shear stress, could be derived by dividing the applied force by the area of the upper layer, and we'll have units of newtons per meter, to -2. So basically, all this is just bringing us to this equation where the shear stress is equals to the viscosity times the rate of flow or the rate of shear. So, and if we want to get the viscosity, what do? We just put the viscosity on the left side, simple mathematics. So N will have units of, now the viscosity will have units of newtons per meter to -2 per second. So in respect to Newton's law, it can be seen that a Newtonian fluid with a viscosity of 1, those units, would produce a velocity of 1 meters per second to negative for a cube of 1 meter dimension with an applied force of 1 Newton. So what are we basically saying here? We are just saying that Newtonian fluids obey the relationship whereby the shear stress, the applied stress, is equal to the viscosity times the rate of shear or rate of flow. Any questions before we go to the next part? Let me see the chart. Viscosity is like resistance to flow, especially, yes, Corazon. Any question? Have we understood?
Yes.
Jamani,
Thank
have
you.
you? Yes. This paragraph is just talking about the SI system, is the Pascal, then viscosity can be referred to Pascal per second. Yeah, so you need to know the SI unit for viscosity is in Pascal per second. I think this is an important nini, because can be asked in the MCQs. What is the SI unit of viscosity? Pascal per second. So that is dynamic viscosity. So next we go to kinematic. Now, what is kinematic? What is kinetics? Anyone? What is kinetics? What is kinematics? Yes. Aya, hiyo mtaniambia when we go for a short break. So, kinematic viscosity, V. This one is denoted V, but dynamic ni ile N. I've forgotten how it's usually called. It is defined as the dynamic viscosity divided by the density of the fluid, and its SI units is meters per second, then seconds, your -1. So this next part is just about how we arrive at this. So what is this? This is an equation that will help us in understanding this effect of temperature and applications. So basically this equation has been derived from up there. And we want to go to that because they won't ask and Munyendo never asked. So this is the equation. So the K value is equals to the specific viscosity over the concentration. So this here it says when the dispersed phase is a high molecular mass polymer, then a colloidal solution will result, and provided moderate concentrations are used. And this is what comes up to it. So where also this is referred to as the viscosity number or reduced viscosity. So this value of specific viscosity over the concentration is referred to as the viscosity number or reduced viscosity. So when the viscosity number or reduced viscosity is determined at a range of polymer concentrations, as we see here, and plotted as a function of concentration, then a linear relationship is obtained from, you see, from the graph. You can see, you see this value NSP over C is also called reducing viscosity. So when it's plotted against the concentration in grams per deciliters, you get a straight line, a linear relationship now between the reduced viscosity and the concentration. So the intercept produced on extrapolation yields the constant K1, which is referred to as the limiting viscosity number. Okay, so when this graph is plotted and you get and the line is extrapolated, you get the limiting viscosity number or the intrinsic viscosity value N. So what is the effect of temperature and applications? So the limiting viscosity number, which we've said up here, is as a product of extrapolation of the slope, may be used to determine the approximate molecular mass of polymers using the Markov-Wing equation, which is this. And K and A, this A, are constants that must be obtained at a given temperature for the specific polymer solvent system. Once these constants are known, once you know the value of K, is everything okay? Any question? So once you know the value of K and A, it enables you now to determine the molecular mass of pharmaceutical polymers such as dextrans. So also the values of the two constants can provide an indication of the shape of the molecule. So if the value of A is 0, you know it's a spherical molecule. If it's greater than 1, it's an extended rod. And if it's a value like 0.5, it's a randomly coiled molecule. Yeah, but you should not like the value of K and A. These are obtained at a given temperature. So, and if you have the value of K and A and you've extrapolated the slope, you can get the molecular mass. Simple as that. We've understood this equation and from the slope and everything. Silence means we've understood. So the specific viscosity, NSP, you remember from up here, it was NSP over the concentration is the reduced viscosity. And please know, I'll ask a few of us to give us a summary once we conclude, because it's just an introduction. I think we'll cover more at night. So the specific viscosity may be used in the following equation to determine the volume of a molecule. Now, you can be told now we want you to tell us what's the volume of the molecule in solution. And you've been given maybe the concentration. You have the molecular mass. Maybe you've got it from the previous equation. So tell us. It's just as simple as placing your values there, then calculating the number of V, where N is the Avogadro's number. Yes, let me see. Yes, Seraphine, what's the Avogadro's number? What's that number? On this Okay. comfort.
Yeah.
What's the Avogadro's number?
Wait, I think I wrote it down somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A co-host. Who is the co-host?
Dan, the co-host,
Yes.
I think.
So it's okay. It's okay, guys. So it's 6.022 times 10 to the power 23.
20, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just engaging you guys because I know how boring it can be being on the other side. I've been there, done that. So yes, that's the Avogadro's number, 6.022 times 10 to the power negative 23. Is it negative? No, 23, just
No,
23.
yeah, positive. Yeah.
So basically that. So how do we get the Huggins constant? K2. So you wonder where K2, where has it come from? It's from here. This equation, they said, in instances where it's a colloidal solution, this can result, like you can have a series of K's, the constants that you're getting. So where do we get this K2 from? K2 is just simply equal to the slope of the plot. We saw K1, we got it from extrapolation. Now K2, we are getting it from the slope, the curve. And now what is K2? It's an indication of the interaction between the polymer and the solvent, such that a positive slope is produced for a polymer that interacts weakly. So when you see a positive slope, just know the polymer interacts weakly with the solvent. And when it's less positive, it interacts more with the solvent. So a change in the value of the Huggins constant, which is the slope of the plot, can be used to evaluate the interaction of drug molecules with polymers. Now, next is for non-Newtonian fluids. So maybe I can get a recap maybe from people. Let's start. Any volunteer first? It's just an introduction. We'll be done in like 10 minutes. Okay, no volunteers, so okay. Liz. Okay, Liz is not here. Oh, she's here. So in simple terms, just tell us what you've understood about rheology as a definition. Not as anything serious, just as a definition.
So rheology, I've understood the definition, the study of basically fluids, the flow, and the types of fluids. We have Newtonian and Newtonian fluids, and the fact that Newtonian fluid follows the Newton's law, like the viscosity change with I think application of force. Any force does not change the viscosity, and then we looked at the different equations. And the viscosity, the SI unit, big pascals. I think that is yeah, per second, being
Mhm.
reminded of Avogadro's number. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. So we just said Newtonian, the rate of flow is directly proportional to the applied stress. So the more the stress, the rate of flow increases. So it's very directly proportional. So maybe if you had not written these equations, like myself, you can take this time to write this equation. Is this sigma or alpha? Is this alpha or sigma? This nini for shear stress. Anyone? I couldn't.
I think it's sigma.
Sigma.
Looks
Yeah.
like sigma.
So it's sigma is equals to that. So yeah, just that.
Wait, I have a question. Are we supposed to know these equations? All of these ones, plus the other ones of K1, K2, and like all these things, are we supposed to know them?
I don't know, but you know, the good thing is these equations are like you can actually okay, let's say like which one? This one. No, this one is not really necessary. It's not. I think here we're just trying to understand just this simple equation. You see, if you just understand what this is, this NSP over C, it's reduced viscosity or the viscosity number, then you know that is what is in the y-axis in the graph. So, and then you know the x-axis is the concentration. So when it's plotted, the extrapolation from the plot here, this point here. Can you see my cursor? I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can see.
Oh, you can. Oh, so this point here is the value of K1, which is the limiting viscosity number. And then you know, like the slope is the Huggins constant or K2. And we saw the limiting viscosity number is used to determine the approximate molecular mass. So I think maybe if you're given, but I don't think so. But it's just important to know because you never know. It might be Munyendo setting the questions and he just decides. But I don't really think so. Yeah. So we can go to the now non-Newtonian fluids. So just this short video, then we call it a day, then we will continue at 9. Then we'll finish rheology today.
Classify into time independent and time dependent. In time independent, there is dialent and pseudoplastic plastic. In time dependent, thixotrophic and rheophatic. Dilatant. Fluid viscosity increases as the force applied on the fluid. Examples are cornstarch with water. Mix the cornstarch with water and make a oblate paste.
Yeah, so from what you've seen in the video, okay, no, let me do this. Let me first introduce. So non-Newtonian fluids, we've said Newtonian, they obey that law. Non-Newtonian fluids, they don't. So from the introduction, most pharmaceutical fluids do not follow the Newtonian law. because the viscosity, which we said is the resistance to flow, varies with the rate of shear. So it's because most of the fluids used are not simple fluids like water and syrup. They are dispersed or colloidal systems, emulsions, suspensions, and gels. So they're in this graph, we see if a Newtonian fluid is subjected to an increasing rate of shear. Shear rate is like you see if you've used this oil, yeah, shear butter. Like the more you apply, you rub your hands, you apply more force, the more it becomes like liquid. So like whatever you're doing with your hands and all, that's shear rate. Or when you cook ugali, the more the force you're applying that flour, that's the shear. Like you're mixing, that's the shear. So with a Newtonian fluid, with an increasing rate of shear, there's also a corresponding, and the corresponding shear stress is then recorded. Yeah, when you increase the shear stress, the shear rate increases. So there's a linear relationship between the shear stress and the shear rate. So such a plot is usually referred to a flow curve or a rheogram. I think I've ever seen a question asking something about a rheogram, so that's basically it. So this slope will give the viscosity of the fluid. See, we saw this was the equation. So when you N, which was the dynamic viscosity, now will give the viscosity when it's the slope of this curve. So now for now non-Newtonian fluids, you'll see a very different relationship between shear stress and shear rate to what we saw. Actually, shear stress, what I was explaining with that shear butter, shear stress is that force, then the shear rate now is how fast am I, rubbing my hands. So for the video started with dilatant. No, but if I go that way, I'll confuse you guys. I'm so sorry. Let's just finish this video, then I think I can just finish up.
And try to punch and observe what is results held. We can see that the object becomes solids. If it left alone, it becomes liquid again. Its viscosity becomes high. There are also research going to make a bulletproof jacket with this process. Pseudoplastic. Fluid viscosity decreases as the force applied on the fluid. Examples are ketchup. Bingham plastics. The fluid appears solid up to a particular force, but after increasing the force, it starts to deform. Examples are toothpaste. If the force is applied much more, then it starts to deform. Time dependent. Thixotropic. Fluid viscosity decreases as the under time constant. Examples are printer ink. Rheofectic. Fluid viscosity increases as per time under constraint. Example are gypsum paste. Like, share and subscribe. The link camo.
Mhm. So just a recap, like we saw the flow of the Newtonian fluids, the relationship it's a straight line, and it starts from, this point, the origin. So for the plastic or Bingham flow, it's where the rheogram does not pass through the origin. but it intersects it with the shear stress axis at a point, usually referred to as the yield value. So we've seen there on top, it's just a straight line like this, but this one is a straight line, but it doesn't start at the origin. So when it's extrapolated, we get the yield value. So this implies that a plastic material does not flow until such a value of shear stress, which is the yield value, has been exceeded. That's when the plastic material will flow. And at lower stresses, the substance behaves as a solid, as an elastic material, so it doesn't flow. So these plastic materials, in short, they're often referred to as Bingham bodies, because, yeah. The equation is just similar to the Newtonian one for Newtonian fluids. It's just that here we add the yield value. And the viscosity now, it's not dynamic viscosity, it's plastic viscosity. So this is the equation for plastic or Bingham flow for non-Newtonian fluids. So this equation, it implies that the rheogram is a straight line intersecting the shear stress axis, but at the yield value. So in practice, flow occurs at lower shear stress than the yield value in practice, but in theory, it doesn't occur like that. So this extrapolation also gives the Bingham or apparent yield value. This is, basically the extrapolation gives us the yield value. And now the slope is the plastic viscosity. Now you wonder, now plastic flow, where is it exhibited? Where is it? You only see it in concentrated suspensions, particularly if the continuous phase is of high viscosity or if the particles are flocculated. Now, what is flocculation? Flocculation is when you have like your floccules are like they're very loose aggregates in a liquid. So floccules, when it's agitated, they can easily disperse. That's what it means by the floccules. So we know plastic flow is exhibited by concentrated suspensions, particularly if the continuous phase is of high viscosity or the particles are flocculated. Then next we go to the pseudoplastic flow. Okay, let me see the chart. Oh, sigma. Okay. Have we understood the plastic or Bingham flow? For me, I'd say the plastic or Bingham flow is similar, somewhat, to a slight extent, similar to non-Newtonian fluids flow, because as we increase the rate, the shear stress increases. It's only that this material, it won't flow until we exceed that yield value. So any questions about that?
No questions, no questions.
Okay. Now we go to the pseudoplastic flow. Now for here, the rheogram shows origin at the origin as no yield value exists. The material flows as soon as you apply shear stress. So we saw for the plastic or Bingham flow, they flow only after you've exceeded the yield value. Even if you are applying the stress, it doesn't. But for the pseudoplastic flow, it behaves like plastic, but not really. So it only flows for pseudoplastic flows as soon as umeka as soon as you have applied the shear stress, that material is flowing. So the slope of the curve gradually decreases with increasing rate of shear. And of course, we know viscosity is derived from the slope. So as viscosity stroke the slope of the curve as it decreases with increasing shear. So the more we increase the shear, the more we increase the rate of shear, the viscosity also decreases and the slope decreases. So materials exhibiting this behavior are said to be pseudoplastic, and no single value of viscosity can be considered as a characteristic. The viscosity can only be determined or calculated from the slope tangent drawn to the curve at a specific point. So I know you've ever heard of apparent viscosities. So such a viscosities, they're known as apparent viscosities, where you can only okay. Sawa. Chatuni. So let me just finish pseudoplastic. No, let me just repeat plastic flow. So we said for Newtonian flow, the plot just it begins at the origin, kabisa. So the moment shear has been applied, flow begins, and they're directly proportional. So for no plastic flow, the only difference with your Newtonian flow, it's that it doesn't work that way. You just don't apply the shear stress, then the shear whatever, then flow begins. For plastic flow, the yield value has to be exceeded. So the material won't flow until this yield value has been exceeded. And then we said, this is the equation for getting the plastic viscosity, of which you can always get viscosity from the slope. But you see, for Newtonian flow, the equation was shear stress is equals to the viscosity to the rate of shear, rate of flow. But here we just add the yield value, because we've said with plastic flow, the yield value has to be exceeded for the material to flow. Sawa, corazon. So, and we said with plastic flow, it's exhibited by concentrated suspensions, particularly if the continuous phase in these concentrated suspensions is highly viscous or the particles are flocculated. And we said floccules are loose aggregates, such that if you shake, they just, it's there, they can easily, leave each other. They can easily leave each other and go into the fluid. Now for pseudoplastic flow, as I was saying, it's for here, it behaves as a plastic flow, but not really. Because for pseudoplastic flow, once shear stress has been applied, the material will flow as soon as it's applied. And for here, as you increase the rate of shear, the viscosity decreases. So shear rate increases, viscosity decreases. And we said viscosity is resistance to flow. So it means if you increase the shear rate, now the fluid will flow easily because now the resistance to flow is decreasing. And for pseudoplastic materials, there is usually no single value of viscosity that can be considered. You have to calculate it from the slope. So this is the equation that is used for pseudoplastic flow. It's called the power law, where n is the viscosity coefficient, as always, and the exponent n and index of pseudoplasticity, such that when n is 1, then viscosity becomes dynamic because it will agree with Newton's law. But as a material becomes more pseudoplastic, then the value of n will fall. So when the value of n is equals to 1 in such instances, now it's not pseudoplastic flow. It becomes dynamic viscosity, and it will agree with the Newton's law, which of course doesn't occur with pseudoplasticity. And last but not least is dilatant flow. So have we understood pseudoplastic and plastic? Because, yeah. Okay, so dilatant flow is opposite to pseudoplasticity. See, with pseudoplasticity, we said if you increase the shear rates, the viscosity decreases. But now with dilatant flow, if you increase that shear, the viscosity will increase. So the more you're, perfect example is when you're making ugali. I don't know if there's someone here who doesn't eat ugali. Maybe corazon. But when you see with ugali, when you increase the shear rate, even if you've put like very little flour or a lot of flour, it doesn't matter. The more you keep mixing and mixing, it now becomes difficult for it to flow easily. So the viscosity has increased. And we said viscosity is fluid's resistance to flow. So that's basically it. If you see dilatant flow, just know that is ugali. Because when you increase the shear rate, the viscosity will increase. And with dilatant flow, the slope is different. You've seen the slope for these other ones, it's lying like kitambi style. So this is like it's going like on top. But with dilatant flow, it's going like the Nyash way. No, it's going like that. I know that will help you understand more. Now that you won't forget. So as such, materials increase in volume during shearing, as we've said with ugali. As you keep increasing that the flour, these materials, they exhibit dilatant and exhibit shear thickening. Because now they're thickening, they can't move. So an equation similar to that of pseudoplastic flow may be used to describe dilatant behavior, but the value of the exponent n will be greater than 1 and will increase as dilatancy increases. So you remember the equation, it was sigma n is equals to your n gamma, this one. So they're saying you've seen this equation. That equation, you've seen it, that one. You remember it was for pseudoplastic flow. So in dilatant flow, we are saying the value will be greater than 1. In pseudoplastic flow, we said once it's n is equals to 1, it exhibits Newtonian behavior. But here we are saying the value of the exponent will be greater than 1. And once it's greater than 1, That's dilatancy. And the value n will increase as dilatancy increases. But this type of behavior, dilatancy, is less common than plastic or pseudoplastic flow, but it may be seen with dispersions containing a high concentration of small deflocculated particles. We said flocculated particles are the loose aggregates, can easily disperse. But deflocculated particles, they're so stubborn, like they just stick there. They go to up. Yes, so dilatancy can be yes, of course, it can be a very, very big problem during processing of dispersions and the granulation of tablet masses when high-speed blenders, you can imagine you're blending, you're there busy milling, but your solution is just becoming hard. It's becoming harder and harder with the more blending and milling. So if the material, now let me just read, if the material being processed becomes dilatant in nature, then the resultant solidification could overload and damage the mortar. Imagine. And that's how you lose your job. So changing the batch or supply of the material used could lead to processing problems, which can only be avoided by rheological evaluation of the dispersion prior to the introduction in the production processes. So besides understanding Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids, I think it's important for us to know that once you get that job, do your rheological evaluation first. We saw in the video, they said most of these people, they don't do the rheological evaluation. It's trial and error. Yes. So this is basic introduction. I think once we've understood, internalized Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluid, the other part will be easier now. So I hope everyone has understood this. Once you just get this equation is mambo yote in this Newtonian, non-Newtonian fluid shenanigan. Once you get this equation, nothing can stop you. And we know the SI units, like we said, is Pascal per second. For kinematic, oh, by the way, I didn't say kinematic viscosity is just meters per second, just like this. So we also understood this. We said the value of K1 is a limiting viscosity number. It's an extrapolation. And the slope of this is the Huygens constant. And it helps us understand how is the polymer interacting with the solvent. The more positive it is, the less it's interacting. And the less positive it is, the more it's interacting. Then we did non-Newtonian fluids. And we said here, we just don't obey Newtonian law. We just decided, you know what, we are not going to obey that law. So what will we do? We'll have very different graphs. And we said for plastic flow, it doesn't flow until the yield value has been exceeded. And we said for pseudoplastic flow, it flows as soon as it has been applied, but the viscosity decreases with increasing rate of shear. So the more the rate of shear, the viscosity is decreasing. And with dilatant flow, we said, like ugali, the more the shear rates, the more the viscosity increases. And dilatant flow is opposite of pseudoplasticity, and the curve is different. Just that. Any questions? Yes, Jasmila has sent something in the group. Let's see. Yeah, for now, Newtonian is for simple liquids like water, syrups, glycerin. Yeah, for plastic, we said for flocculated concentrated suspensions. And now we are adding ointments, pastes, gels, etc. And you have to exit the yield value. So when you exit the yield value, you've broken the intermolecular force, and now the material can flow. That's for plastic. For pseudoplastic, yeah, so pseudoplastic, we said for apparent viscosities, you have to derive this viscosity from the slope at tragacanth gum in water, sodium alginate in water, sodium carboxymethyl cellulose in water. Those exhibit pseudoplastic. So I think these examples are very important. And we said tragacanth gum is a binder. Ama nimewadanganya. Yes, I think it was a binder.
Yeah. I mean, it was a binder, and it was
Yeah.
also a viscosity modifier or a
Good.
thickening agent. Yeah.
Yes. So just know tragacanth gum is for pseudoplastic flow, the viscosity modifier, then for dilatant, we said pseudoplastic and dilatant are opposite. In pseudoplastic, it's shear thinning. When you increase the shear stress, the viscosity decreases. And we said viscosity is fluid resistance. So when you decrease the fluid resistance, there is thinning. And for shear thickening, when you increase shear, viscosity increases, even with increase in volume. Examples are starch in water. Yes, starch in water. Ugali. Simona. Starch. Good, I'm good. Kaolin in water. Zinc oxide in water. Deflocculated suspension. Highly concentrated. Those who are, yes, even my good friend Corazon has told me to re-explain the flocculation and deflocculation part in pseudoplastic. By the way, there is a part under rheology in the guideline where I'll talk about flocculation and deflocculation. So I'll re-explain then. I think for now we can. Don't worry, Corazon. I'll re-explain at night. So I think we can stop here. Yeah, we can stop here for now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Kumbe wewe ndio Spider-Man. Okay. Everything is okay. Jasmila, is everything okay? Yes, Jasmila. And Sarafina.
Yeah, everything is okay.
Tutuone. Divayani. Mzee has to be chai. Everything is okay, sawa. So at night you can have questions. Yes, thank you for listening. I hope I was good.
Thank you.
Kabisa kabisa kabisa, umefanya kazi poa Diana.
It's my first time lecturing. So
No pressure, no pressure. You've done a good job. You've done a good job, Diana. Dr. Diana Bironga.
oh yes, yes. And since I'm sort of the tuseme group leader in this pharmaceutics, so ile to prevent me talking all the time, or tusaidiane. Naona we are remaining with the ones that have not been picked. Plus, I'll also help you if it's bulky also on your end. Like we'll help each other. So the surface and interfacial phenomena. We'll take that. Unit, processes, and equipment.
I can take the surface.
Good. Then what is doing in that? We got number 10.
We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I'm saying Seraphine should go to number 12. Dispensing and pharmaceutical calculation.
I can do that, but currently sijapata any reference thing that has those
Calculation.
things vizuri. Sijapata moja. So if you have one, I can do that.
Ati gani hiyo Seraphine hujapata?
Hiyo ya dispensing.
Check.
I've not found something that has those things vizuri.
Can someone also tell me if they've seen notes on surface and interfacial tension?
Don't worry, I'll send you the note.
Yeah.
Share them so that I can prepare.
Sasa hiyo si ungekuwa ushasema hivyo sasa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I'm a
dispensing and
Yeah, nitawatafuta notes. So it's my course, so nitawatafuta notes then I'll send as we go. Mapema.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, hata Rheology I was to send, but I would send. And then so we've gotten surface, unit, processes, and equipment. Your was new. Now I'm not saying letting here. Letting you'll have to. Higher dissolution and solubility.
Nyi mtume notes tu tutachukua hizi.
Haina shida. Dissolution and solubility. Church one, who is here? Chai hata amechukua ini. Chai itabidi tu. I don't know. Chai, are you here? Okay, maybe I will go.
Atapata memo, wewe usijali.
Hebu chukua baba anaweza kutoa.
Bana, ataambiwa tu, hana shida.
Dissolution.
Na wewe guys, acha kurename jina yangu.
Actually, wacha niandike. So we said Serafina kuja hapa. So, and then next week tutafanya aje because of graduation. Najua kuna a lot of things. So what will we do?
Kwani graduation next week?
Maximize
We
this
can
week
do
as much
more
as
this
possible.
week.
Oh, so maybe to meet, sijui, are you guys free? Tunaweza kuwa maybe leo hata tunaweza meet before 7.
Yeah.
Saa 9 iko sawa ama ndo mnatafuta sapa?
Sasa ni mapema, maybe 6.
Yeah, 6.
Sawa, 6. Okay, I think we'll do 6 to 8 hapo. 6 to 8 thereabout. And maybe asubuhi tukue tunaanza 9:30.
Yes.
Maybe 9. Yeah, and then pia Friday itabidi.
Friday itabidi this week bana. Next week is
But Friday we can do usiku.
No problem.
And then Saturday mko wapi?
Mbona Saturday ni kanisa?
Itabidi.
Sorry, I forgot.
But again, the good thing, now that we are also able to
We
share
can
the
do
videos on
Saturday.
YouTube, we can just, as long as we have like most of the people, then tunaweza fanya alafu we share the videos. I don't know.
Good. Yeah. Because from next week, I think